Welcome back to the show. Today we have a very special guest on. His story is great. He's seen a lot, different eras, different times, and his experience is good for all of us. So we wanted to have him on and hear his show, and we're glad you could be here, Sherman.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Thanks.
Okay, and we also got my dad coming in. His name's Cedric Pettis. I guess we'll let them introduce themselves, talk about something that they do, and then we'll get into it more. So, yes.
All right. Great. I'm so happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Thanks.
All right.
We're glad you could come on with us.
Okay.
So, Sherman, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm a gospel singer, an old gospel singer. I started out in 1964 with Andre Crouch and the Disciples, but I sang gospel music all my life. I grew up in a little town in Louisiana of 135 people, and it was named after an Indian chief, Mermentau. Mermentau, and my mom had a gospel group, and I belonged to a holiness church that was right across the street from my home, and that's where I grew up singing. I've been doing it, probably professionally for about 60 years, and the God has just miraculously opened doors for me, and I'm still going at it, until they say they don't want to hear me anymore. But I've enjoyed it, and God has just been so faithful in my life. I give Him the glory.
That's great, man.
Okay, so I guess I got some questions ready I want to dig into. So we can start off with, so basically, what are your thoughts on generational curses, I guess, and generational wealth? And what do you believe basically comes with generational curses, and how do you think people should I guess fight against it, I guess, in your way?
Well, I think there are generational curses and there are generational blessings. I think I am a product. I think I'm being blessed of God now because of my dad's generosity and his benevolence. He was just the most giving person. Anybody hard on their luck could have a place to eat and stay at our home. I mean, he's a hard-working guy, but I tried to be a husband to Winnie as he was to my mom, because he spoiled her, and I tried to spoil my wife like he did. But I don't think I came close. He was just an amazing man, and I think curses are just the same way. Families are cursed through habits that the parents had before they were born, and so there are curses, I believe. But the greatest thing is to set an example for your child, and I'll give you an even better example of a generational blessing. Joel Osteen, I knew his dad.
Wow.
And his dad was a great man of God. Joel is not a great preacher. Joel gives you these little sermonettes and stuff, but his dad was one of the most godly men I've ever seen, and his name is John Osteen, and he was so gracious and kind. And now, it was always a big church. Now it has exploded.
Right.
And that's a blessing. I don't think it's because of Joel. It's because of John Osteen, that God used in such a mighty way. They tell me before he passed away, it was just, I think he had a major heart attack or something like that. And someone said, who was very close to him, said, he said when they told him he wouldn't be able to preach anymore, he said it's just like he pulled the cover over him and said, okay, I'm going to leave now. It's the most amazing thing, but there are just many stories of men and women who have lived lives for God, and their children are receiving a blessing because of that. I think because of my mom and dad, that's what's happened in my life.
Oh, wow.
That's special.
Yeah, and I guess I'll dig into like what we was talking about earlier a little bit. And, basically how you grew up and how do you think, your growing up circumstances, you said it was one of your biggest successes in life. And how do you think that was a success for your life from you growing up to, how you basically came out of that,
Well, because at the time I grew up, it was I was born in 42. I'm in the 60s. I graduated in 1960. That was segregation and everything. And everybody would say, you had your place, you could never do this or that. And my mom and dad taught me that people are just people. And they said you can accomplish anything you set your mind to do, no matter what obstacles they put before you. So my dream was to travel the world and be a gospel singer and spread the message of salvation, the message of Jesus Christ all over the world. And people laughed at me. I never, ever wanted to sing anything but gospel music. And that was the biggest challenge, to come from a town of 135 people. And you have this, this idea that you're going to do that, and not even know how it's going to happen. But I had faith in God, and everybody said I was different. All my brothers and sisters, there was 7 of us, they said I was not like the rest of them. And my mom never, and my dad never worried about me. They knew I was not going to get in trouble. And so what happened, I said that was the biggest accomplishment, to have a desire to live for God. That is something, because I used to hear people preach and say, I thank God for a mind to live on. Well, that's now no joke, because some people don't want to, So when you have a mind to live, and I just gleaned so much from the older people around me, because I was the only boy, teenage boy and preteen boy in my church, because they didn't go to church because it's, you're square, And I played sports and everything. I love sports. That was my dream at first. I thought I was going to be a baseball player until I checked my time at the 100-yard dash, and I ran it in 2 minutes, 20 seconds. And then when you're small like me, when you're small like I am and you run that slow, they say, man, you better try something else. And from there, that's when those were the 2 things that I enjoy. I love sports. I could hit, man, but I could not run. I'd hit the ball in the outfield and they'd throw me out at first, So I was just little and slow. So I got into, and this is, I think, I may be talking too much, but this is one area that really surprised me. Jackie Robinson was my hero, and he broke the color barrier in baseball. And I find it so ironic that God would use me to break the color barrier in Southern gospel music, because it's not anything I planned, but that was my hero, and God allowed me to do something that was similar to what he did.
Wow.
So me and him was talking about this earlier about, people thinking the word settling is like as a bad connotation in a way, that, you think you're settling as you're not playing your sport that you wanted to dream for, or you're settling for this and this. But, sometimes you're not actually settling as in a bad thing, but you're actually doing something that you think would be better for you and those around you by, not doing this thing that won't lead to you, impacting other people. Because you realize it's going to hold you back because you're not that good at it. Like, for example, you said baseball. Yeah. You're doing something that you love to do, that you're good at, that can impact people in a higher way.
It's amazing. Yeah, you're right.
How did you discover your most dominant gift? Because, people wrestling with a gift that's less dominant and more dominant.
Well, I knew baseball wasn't a dominant gift.
Yeah, that's very easy.
But I always knew I could sing, but I don't necessarily believe that was the best singer in my family.
Oh, wow.
Everybody could sing, but I had the bug. I was always practicing. I was always trying to do something vocally, and I would drive everybody crazy around me. They'd run me out. I'll shut up with all that noise and all that. And I would be sweeping. At that time, the microphone the microphone was on the stand. I'd be sweeping, and then I'd have the because everything was staged to me. Yeah. And I never knew it then, but God was preparing me for the stage, because the thing that I do have, and I found that out when I joined the Imperials, was showmanship. Okay. I know how to work an audience and all that and move on. See, I'm not a dancer. Okay. I have 2 left feet. But I know how to move on stage and all that. And so I found out what I was good at. Even though, like, my brothers were much bigger than I am, and they could, they had talent. But my brother next to me, the next oldest to me, was Jim. We call him James. We call him Jim. And boy, he was better. I thought he was great at everything, and I tried to be like him, but he wasn't focused. And the same thing with my other siblings. It's everything. Let's put it this way: I didn't know it at the time, but every move I made, it was not serendipity. It wasn't like, it was a plan. Like I said, I'm going to go here because I can do this. I'm going to listen to my voice teacher because it's going to help. Everything was planned out, even though it looked like, it's just luck. But God was leading me, so that's why it wasn't serendipitous, because God really had His hand on my life, and from as far back as I can remember, my music teacher was a beautiful lady from Baton Rouge area. Her name was Velta Shields. Well, God used her to really help me, because I just thought, how you have little crushes on. Yeah. I just love to be. I never sat out in the with the class. I always sat with her behind the piano. I was a teacher's pet, and she used that. She knew that she's grown up. She knew that I just, in my little puppy love way, I'm in love with her. So she used that to teach me things. Wow. She never tried to take advantage of me or anything, but she called me squeaky, because my voice was changing and stuff. But God uses all these things to get you where you're supposed to be. And I owe so much to my instructors in school, because they all, once they found out I had a dream and I had goals I wanted to achieve, they never let me deviate.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. When did you discover the Imperials? When did you?
1972, I joined the Imperials.
And how did you find them?
Well, they found me.
Oh, they reached out to you.
I had left Andres. Like I said, I had been with Andre 6 years. We did one album, and God just, how those preachers, there is a sermon, has the eagle stirs his nest. Well, that's what happened with me. I became disenchanted with everything. I wasn't angry with anybody or mad, or it's just that I just was uncomfortable with the group. I thought my time with the group was over. And I left Andre I wanted to just be a soloist, And because we had just been on a world tour, that's how we went. That's how we became full time. We were an evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia. He needed a group to travel with him, and he took us on like a world tour. And our first stop was Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
But and that's got us full time. But when I came back, off and on, we were going about 3 months. And when I came back, Sherman Jr. had changed so much in those 3 months. I didn't want to go back out on the road.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to be a soloist and just sing on weekends. But then the booking agency that was supposed to help me, they didn't want me to be a soloist. They said, you got to have a group. So I formed a group, got some guys called the Brethren, and we were so far ahead of our time. 2 Mexican Americans, 1 Italian, 2 blacks, and the sound man was Scandinavian. So we were messed up, and we were doing great. For 6 months we did great. And then the guys, the 2 Hispanic guys, said they wanted to go back to their girlfriends in San Francisco. I was living in L.A. at that time. So that the group disbanded, and so I just quit. I just got a regular job and sang on weekends.
Right.
And then Armin Morales, who is he is the manager and the bass singer for the Imperials. His 2 sisters, they had a group called the Velvetones, and I knew them. Then we'd see each other at concerts and everything, and they were really sweet people. And they told Armin about me. And the group that said, man, Sherman Andrus, he sang with Andre Crouch, he's available, and they needed a baritone. So they got in touch with me, and I was not even aware of the group because they're on the East Coast, we're West Coast. And they flew me in to Nashville because Winnie wanted to know why I was going to go with this group. Because, I saw pictures of them and they were all white. And so I said, well, I've never been to Nashville. And, it's just, I was just going because I'd never been there, and they paid my way. Right. But they surprisingly to me, they liked my singing. So then they said, okay, and I joined the group. And it was like, if something happens and it's the people don't like you, it's no harm, no foul, but no guarantees. And so they liked me, and I came home, I showed Winnie all the albums and stuff, and she said, are you going to sing that stuff? And I said, yeah. She said, why? And I said, because it's different. I always wanted to push myself. Well, because the word in Nashville was that you put a black guy singing with 3 white guys or 3 Caucasians, and they'll never blend. Well, I wanted to show them it could be done. So I didn't lose any of what I have, but what happened, the group made a turn to contemporary because I could sing things they couldn't sing before.
Wow.
And so that was a turning point in the group, and the turning point, I'm told, with the group spiritually. Because before I was there, they never gave an invitation or anything, or a testimony. And I started that with some pushback. Because they asked me when I joined the group that after about 3 months, they said, what would you do to make the group better? I said, well, I would give a testimony and tell the people why we do what we do. And said, not just get up there and sing. And the guy in charge said, we tried it. It doesn't work. I said, you don't do it for it to work. It's a statement of your faith, you know. And but I'm saying I got pushback.
Yeah.
And so it, you know, and it wasn't easy. Nobody wanted to room with me and stuff like that.
Wow.
I roomed with.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
you got your own room.
But no, I had to room with the drummer.
Oh,
yeah, the drummer. He was not as pure as the rest of the guys because he was young, see, young and dumb like that. So he roomed with me, and it was just funny. They just thought I was going to be so different. And the fact is, I was more conservative than any of them as far as my lifestyle and everything. Because you know, I was just, because of the different jobs that I'd had, I didn't dress as casually as they did because I worked in the garment area. And, you know, you could get stuff at cost in the garment area. So I had beautiful suits and, you know, and cufflinks and ties and everything matched because I got it at cost, you know. But so I didn't look like them at all, but they were shocked, and also they were shocked that I was able to articulate my thoughts.
So you were educated.
When they would interview. They said, "Man, you're quick." No, I mean, I was just another guy. And I tried to explain to them that I'm no different from any other person. Oh, no, you must be different. You must be big.
The stereotype.
Yeah, big son. I said, no. I said, I'm not. I'm just a black guy from Louisiana. And so it's, you know, you have to go against the grain with all these stereotypes. And I love the fact, I love breaking barriers. People who, and some of the people would tell me they were shocked the way I was, you know, the way they felt with me, because I'm no different from anybody. It's just like if you go any place in the world, everybody wants the same thing. You know, they want safety for their kids, they want a good education, they want, you know, it's just everybody's the same. But they thought I was going to be different, and I'm glad that was a very strong thing for me to show them that we are all the same. And one guy in particular, Terry Blackwood, and I became very close friends because we were like the black and white, because he was blonde, I'm black, we're same size, everything, and you know, just people automatically put us together. So we became fast friends, you know.
Wow.
And in the group, and you know, we have grown apart now, but that was the, you know, people really just put us together.
I think it's so interesting to know during the 60s around this time, there was so much tension with what was going on in the South that you were just effortlessly, it seems, making these connections with people. And
you make it seem simple, man.
Yeah,
you make it sound so simple.
And this is the time whenever everyone was like, the tension was high from what I know, from what I've read.
Well, it is, don't get me wrong, I'll give you an example of it. People reject the differences, like when I went for a job.
I bet you can keep going.
Oh, okay. When I went for the job interviews, I never had a big afro.
Okay.
So I had, you know, and and a lot of the places I went to, they would not even, you know, even let you take an exam or anything unless you had a college education, you know, a degree. And that was in the 70s, and times were tough. But because I knew how to dress and I looked, you know, I was not scary. Because people reject, you know, anything that's different. So I had all kinds of things, doors open for me, just because I looked like but I'm a tester too. I'm not smart, but I'm a tester. My son and I were like that. you can give me any kind of test, aptitude and all that stuff, and something about me kicks in where I give the right answers and all that stuff. I'm not smart, but I know how to test.
Right.
I know what they want to hear. That's
Okay.
it. So that's it. And so I didn't have any problems. Just about every job I had, I was the first black to be in it, because I knew how to dress. And I think the black, what they call black exploitation, movies.
Right. Okay.
I think the movies hurt us because they portrayed a different lifestyle. Like in the movies, black exploitation is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
in those movies,
right.
The guy who dresses nice and has a nice car and speaks proper English, well, he's square.
Yeah.
But the guy with his hat backwards and all that stuff. Well, that's Hollywood,
cool.
but that's not real life.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's
so
true.
I never bought into that. And I think it hurt young people because when you go to audition, they're not looking for the coolest guy. They're looking for the guy who can do the job.
Right.
Even I did things like in Six Flags over Texas. And when my son was in high school, I would pick up a whole bunch of kids from the east side. And I had a van, and I would take them because I'm performing. I get them in free, and I take them in, and we'll be going down the road, and they would say stuff like this: "Why y'all talk so funny?" I said, "What do you mean? Y'all talk like white people." Let me tell you something. I listen to the news and everything. There's so many grammatical errors that people, white and black, make on television, and I resent it when when you use proper English and they think it's something that white people have a handle on. Very few people have a handle on it. So when that always offended me, and I would tell them, they said, "Why y'all talk like that?" I said, "We speak English." Well, I said if I was in Spain, I'd speak Spanish fluently. It's just we need to understand that.
When I grew up with Clara Lupa, because my sister was all in pageants, and the first time that I saw Clara Lupa, she really rebuked my mom for speaking improper English.
Yeah.
And I would see her rebuke elderly people and put them in their place because she was such a civil rights leader.
Oh, yes.
It has such a great impression upon me. She taught us simple things about don't say and don't stutter, communicate. We don't have that in this generation.
No.
We don't have those voices like that really.
You're absolutely right. Well, with me, I pick up cancer patients for Integris 1 week a month, and when I call people to set up their appointment, if they're black, the minute they see me, say, "I thought you was white," and that bugs me, man, because I don't. Now, if I over enunciate, I could understand that. Like I'm very, but I'm just, then I would be trying to be, something.
Right.
But I'm just speaking English. I thought you were a white man, and I mean, it's just so.
Because one thing I noticed when I was growing up, as in, I kind of didn't fit in, but like growing up in my neighborhood, where the kids in my neighborhood, they were actually teaching themselves how to talk hood. They were like they talk naturally a certain way, but people watch, they watch YouTube, they watch different things, and we basically, train ourselves how to talk a certain way growing up in these areas. And we try to fit in. We watch videos, we watch different things to train your voice. So you can like talk a certain way, have a certain swag, and then have a certain culture in you. And then when you don't do that, you're not cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So It's not like we're naturally like that. We actually, you know, we make it a thing to
Well,
do.
and we have to, you know, I didn't finish college, but that didn't stop my education.
Right.
You know, because life is education.
Yeah.
My play daughter thinks I'm the most educated person she's ever met because I see things differently. You know, because travel, you know, everything is educational. When you start mingling like you're doing the languages and all that stuff, you learn cultural taboos, you learn certain things. And I was always just a student of life. I want to enjoy it, man. I wanted to, you know, when they put me underground, I will have lived a full life.
Exactly.
And because I'm always looking for a challenge, and it has been so exciting to me to have a wife. My wife was just like I am, and she grew up in the same little kind of town, a little bigger than mine, but I couldn't use bad English around her.
Yeah.
And I had certain the things, idiosyncrasies as far as speaking, because I was from Louisiana, and I had some kind, and she would correct me on stuff, and it made me mad, but
it helps you.
Yeah, it helps. So, that's the thing. And she bought into the fact that I wanted to do something different, and she really. I'm still kind of laid back, and you know, but she really enjoyed my quote unquote celebrity because she used it everywhere. You know, she could.
Yeah.
Well, I'm married to Sherman Andrus, and they say who, but yeah, she enjoyed it, and my son. What was so great about him, I didn't know this. He graduated from Pepperdine in L.A., and he was a National Merit Scholar. And when they were talking to him about coming out there, he had a scholarship, not a full ride, but he had a scholarship. And he said, "Man, they know you out there." I said, "Man, nobody knows me out there." I said, no. And one day, I was home and he wasn't there, and they called and I talked to him. And the guy knew me, you know, but I'm always shocked when people know me, you know. I didn't do it for notoriety. I just did it because that's what I was called to do, you know.
Maybe it's just so humble that you don't think about
No,
how many people know you.
Yeah, I'm always shocked when you know, I was at church this Sunday and singing, and this lady said, "I've been wanting to meet you," and she got me hooked up with a television show and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, then I didn't know it. I wasn't even singing very well because I was tired. But no, it's just I look at you guys, and I really envy you guys starting now, because you are in for a great trip. And just enjoy it because it's exciting. The people who never fail never go anywhere, you know, because you're going to have some rough spots. I had some. I tried things, and, you know, I tried jobs that I just hated after a while. And everybody, another thing, they thought I was lazy because I didn't want to do certain things. My grandfather saw me as a kid working in the yard, and he told my mom, he said, "Mabel, that boy had better get a good education because he does not want to get dirty." And I never got a job that I got dirty.
My dad does the same thing to me. He tries to make me do plumbing work, teach me that. I was like, some things I can do, but I'd rather just be that guy in the back, you know, being smart.
Dude, man.
I don't want to be getting down like
He's
that.
putting on extra gloves.
Just
grab that.
That's me, man. I did not want to get dirty. And they would just laugh at me because that was my dream was I never wanted to get my hands dirty, you know, and so I did everything I could to get the kind of life I wanted. But And then Winnie's mom, my mother-in-law, because I always look clean and everything, and I tell her, "Oh, I'm so tired. I've been working." You ain't been doing nothing. She didn't think I was working because
Singing.
Working that brain. Working the
yeah,
mind.
because they didn't think singing was, and that I think that really affected Winnie and Sherman Jr. They didn't think I worked hard, but because they say, "Oh, I can spend this money," and he didn't work hard. But man, it is, you find your thing and you go for it, and I have no regrets. I've given it everything I had. And, even the group that I was with, the Imperials, we should all be rich
Yeah.
because we were that good.
That big.
But you could never get everybody on the same page.
Right.
But
And-
nobody can tell, because you guys have been such a class act that it seems as if, the wealth of, just being with God has really paid off. You're 80 years old.
Yeah. Well,
And the blessings, everybody talks about how classy you guys are, and then the music open up so many doors for you. That's something that has a huge impact in your life journey.
yeah. But I'm saying, some of us are old, and like for me personally, I've never done better financially, even with the Imperials,
Oh wow!
because
Wow.
that's here again. We're talking about generational blessing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I never expected this.
Wow.
I'm doing better now, and I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that to give God the glory, because in His Word He says, "Your latter days will be greater than the former," and that's what has happened. I never believed, like totally bought into that,
Wow.
because I'm going to have to work hard all my life, and God just has miraculously blessed me, and I've never been in this situation financially. Because things can look better than what they are.
That's true.
Now, the most money I ever made was when we were doing Elvis the concert, where we went all over the world doing that. And he was on the big screen, and that was like from 1997 to about 2010. He was on the big screen, and for those of us who knew him and a part of his life, we're, singing background or his TCB band and all that stuff. But that's the most money I ever made.
Right.
Wow.
But we never made the kind of money that people thought we made. And, comparatively speaking, like Gloria Gaynor had that one hit, "I Will Survive," and she's a millionaire.
Yeah.
But we never had that.
Right.
We had to work, and people hated our music, because
She was still working though.
we were doing. But what I'm saying is the general people would teach against our music.
Right.
They'd say, "Oh, that's of the devil."
Oh, wow.
I remember on Pat Robertson's show on CBN, there are people he'd say came from Haiti and Africa, and saying that the drum beat was evil and all that
wow.
stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm saying this is, people don't know that. Now here is the thing. Now, all you hear in church now is 1970s rock,
That's so
Yeah.
true.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
But for us, I mean, even one of the guys in one of the groups I was in was tuning his guitar, and a guy came from all the way from the back, said, "I know what you're doing there, Doc. That satanic music and all that." No, that's just the way it is.
Y'all helped make the change, though. You guys.
Yeah, but we got our rear ends kicked, because everybody is looking for, like with the guys, with the Imperials, they would get mad at them because they had long hair. I didn't have long hair, but they had long hair, and they say, you know, the music is of the devil, and you know, like Southern gospel, they weren't singing Southern gospel anymore. We had turned the corner. And of course, with change, there's going to be some, you know, pushback. But it's not easy in this field. Like I was talking to you before we started, you know, taping. For a while there, I didn't know whether I was good or not until I started doing commercials in the studio, and people told me I was exceptional, because most people at that time thought you got into gospel because you couldn't make it doing other things. You know, that was the thing on us. They're doing, you know, and everybody say, well, you're in it for the money. Man, I even had relatives tease me about it and said, Sherman, you should be rich. Because you've been, you know, I said, no, you know, I have notoriety, but I didn't get in gospel music to get rich, because I'm not stupid. I know where the money is. You know, you think I'm singing in these little churches and everything, and I'm going to try to get rich. Hey, the money is over there. But the peace of mind comes with knowing you're in God's will for your life. And that's what I've always had. You know, is that peace of mind, knowing that God is in control. And, you know, I'm a blessed man, because I'm able to do what I do at, not great, but at a good clip, you know.
Well, I want to digress a little bit, because we almost forgot to bring up your book. So I want to, you know, tell everybody about your book, and tell them where they can find the book. About, you know, it's kind of a biography about his life that he wrote. So if y'all want to check that out, go ahead. You can.
You can get it on Amazon, or you can get it at my website, ShermanAndrus.com. Andrus is ANDRUS.com, and they've been flying off the shelf. They've been going like hotcakes. Wish they'd go like books. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So
Pat Boone forwarded that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Pat Boone's a friend. I tell you, when I see you, I'm going to give you a letter he wrote after this.
Wow.
Yeah, I have copies of it. I'm going to get that, because you see now he's really big.
Yeah.
I'm not, but nice man.
You're big too.
No,
you're really big.
No.
So humble.
Yeah, but he is a nice man. See, but the thing that has really endeared me to people is that I'm silly. I enjoy life. You know, I'm not a buffoon, but I enjoy life. I really had a great relationship with his kids, with the girls, because I would tease them all the time, and, you know, and Lori, the baby, I was really close to her. And so when we are on the road, I'm not the guy who stands back and waits for you to come to me. I'm just going to be friendly, because I haven't accomplished anything. And some people, I've had people tell me this all the time, that they're, you know, like when I'm in the foreign countries, they say, you're not like the regular American. You know, because people say, like even in Hawaii, Winnie and I lived there for 5 years, okay?
Wow.
That's why I'm broke now. Anyway, that's another story for another time.
Wow.
But anyway, when I was in Hawaii, you know, we would look at people who saved all their lives for that 1 week in Hawaii, and they're acting like they're millionaires, you know. Well, and it's just ridiculous. You know, I was just, my mom, boy, wouldn't let you put on airs, and I am so glad of that, because that has sustained me over the years, man. I'm telling you, you know how people on Oprah and all these other things talk about living your best life.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've lived my best life for all 80 years, and I have no sad stories to tell.
Wow.
I think, like you said, you went to these countries, and I think a lot of people become standoffish when they get to that level. They try to be like, I'm so cool. But I think keeping that mindset might have been good for you. And maybe that's what propelled you so far, is that you did these things out of, pure passion, and you did it the way you wanted to do it.
You got to live. If you're whatever you're passionate about, that's what you should do, because nothing else will make you happy. Now, I talked to Keith, the president.
Oh yeah, SNU president.
Yeah, he is so cool. But he wants me and some of the other Professor I can't think of her name.
I can't think.
The lady who brought us in.
Oh, okay. You know what I'm talking about?
Did she interview you during chapel?
She's the one was on stage with Peggy.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember.
Yeah, what she wants me to be more involved with the students and everything.
Well, here you are.
Yeah,
doing a podcast.
And they made me welcome, because you don't want to be pushy. And they said, no, you need to come in and hang with the students and all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing.
I have a good question, ready. How did you meet the president of SNU? I had this question ready beforehand, so.
Well, did I? Oh, well, I had no idea who he was. I'm trying to get all set up to sing, and he comes in and he says, "I'm Keith," and shakes my hand and said, "Man, I'm a big fan. I love your album, Soldier of the Light." And I'm going like, boy, who is this guy? He really is a fan. And then, as I said earlier, when we were at lunch, they had a special lunch, and Peggy said, you need to give a copy of your album your book to the president. I said, who's the president? She said, there he is over there. And I was so shocked, because he was so down to earth,
Wow.
Right,
Most of the guys, when they get that high, they kind of pompous, not him.
Right.
So I'm looking forward. I'm going to be on the campus a lot, mingling, and I love the college campus. I love that whole scene. So
Yeah, I do too. Well, also, I got one more question.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay, so it's kind of like off topic what we was just talking about, but I had this question before. So, do you think it's important for people to travel outside of, I guess the U.S., Americans especially, to understand, different cultures, or what is your thought process on that?
Well, I think we should. I think it will help us. I think every American should leave this country, U.S., and go somewhere else, because believe me, this country is not perfect, but boy, it sure beats everything else out there. I mean, we have a lot going for us. Now, if I couldn't live here, I think I would like to live in Australia.
Yeah.
I love Australia. I love it because the people are very gregarious and friendly, and they walk everywhere, and they're in good shape because they don't ride, and their cities are bustling even after dark. They don't close up like we do here.
Wow.
And I enjoy it. I was in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, and I loved it, because I was bragging to them about how much I love their country.
Yeah.
And then they say, "Oh, this is nothing." Said you should see New Zealand.
Okay.
And that is why I'm going there next year. I want to see that. But every place has its uniqueness. I see what's going on in Ukraine, and people going to Poland. Well, I was in Poland in the 90s.
Wow.
And Poland is a very poor country. It's I think it's so great of them to take all those refugees, because they're not really,
right.
Because when I was there were so many things that were first for me. That's before the phone cards. We didn't have
SD. Oh,
so now we have to talk to Winnie. I had to buy a phone card and go to the middle of Warsaw.
Oh wow!
And put the phone card in the phone there. It's a bank of phones, and talk until the money ran out.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and that's how I kept in touch with her. And it was such a, the what do you call it? The adventure in me can get pretty scary sometimes because when I flew from Frankfurt, Germany to Warsaw, Poland, on all the other airlines up until to Franklin or all over Europe, they speak English and whatever country the airline is from. Well, coming from Frankfurt, Germany, they were speaking only German and Polish.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand either one of them. So when we got to Warsaw, and we westernized everything, so Warsaw is, in our English vernacular, is W-A-R-S-A-W.
Right.
Well, over there is W-A-R-Z-A-W-A, something like that. And it's pronounced Warszawa.
Oh, wow.
And only reason I got off the plane is because everybody was sitting off the plane. There's no place to go. I didn't know where I was,
That's
and I said it must be Warsaw, because everybody's getting off. That's where it's supposed to be going. But everything is so different, and the people, they're nice people, man. I had a ball in Warsaw. All over Poland I went. I was there for 3 weeks just alone. And I picked up a band there. And what was strange is the only person who spoke English was the drummer's wife.
Oh,
You
wow.
sure fall in love with a person when they're the only one speaking your language. But she wouldn't let me, like when I'd go to the lobby, and you know how people have this joke about Polish people being dumb?
Right.
You got to be smart to speak that language. Like Mary's about 19 letters,
Wow.
Yeah. It's the hard. They say it's a hard language.
Oh, wow.
I didn't try. It was so hard. But I would have to sign autographs, and the drummer's wife would stand with me and say, her name is Mary or something, and you think it's M-A-R-Y. Nuh-uh. It's a whole bunch of letters. So, I enjoy all of it. I wouldn't change anything. God has really been so faithful, and He's allowed me to meet you guys, and I've enjoyed talking with you guys.
I was going to ask one question though too. There's a lot of artists, people, whether it's music or whether it's graphic designs or new technology of artistry. What advice? Because you've been living from your gift and your gift of singing. What advice could you give, like, to an artist, a creator, somebody who's an entrepreneur? Because it's like we see how you put a lot of your eggs in one basket, and you've traveled the world and done mostly everything that you've wanted to do. What advice could you give to someone who wants to live that dream like you're living?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it depends on if you're married or single.
Okay.
Because women love security. And that's just the way they're made.
That's true.
And I've had friends who, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're more practical than we are. Like with me, I want to do what I enjoy. Don't worry about the money. Oh, well, yeah. You got to worry about the money.
You gotta come
if
home.
you're a
Yeah,
fan.
yeah.
See, because I didn't even knew how to do it. Because I would go places where I was blessed extremely well. Well, I would come home and I had a good bunch of money there. Well, I had so much I had to have a week. So instead of giving it all, I gave what needed to be there for that week and kept the other, because there's going to be some bad stuff coming down the road. Because they just don't want to have to worry about, they don't mind you, really pursuing your dream.
Right.
And so a lot of marriages break up because the guy thinks it's just his dream. No, as long as you take care of home, and I have this joke that I tell, it wasn't necessarily like that, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but when I went to Poland, it was a mission trip. I raised the money before I left, and when they had money to do, to pay all the bills. Boy, I was gone 3 weeks, and when I came back, I'm feeling amorous, and all, and Winnie looked at me, and there's no money coming in, just what we had in the bank. And she says, I'm just tired tonight. Let's just go to bed. Okay, but here's the difference, though. I went to Germany a little while after that. That's in the 90s. And so I came back, $6,000 cash.
Ooh.
Put it on the dresser.
He's feeling real good.
Yeah, right. I put it on the dresser. You know what she said? Let me get all these clothes. We better end on that.
That was a good finish.
Yeah, man.
So the moral is you better come back with.
Oh yeah.
You better come back with the cheese.
They don't care that you. That's just the way we are made. Women are more into security, and we're not. They don't care about your adventure as long as you're taking care of home. And I exaggerated the end, but that's how it. She was. Like if I was not, making ends meet, she would be upset. I did all kinds of stuff to keep things going. I stripped furniture with a friend and all that. I was always trying to do something because I wanted to keep her, my dream wasn't necessarily her dream. Just like your dream is not necessarily your wife's dream. She's going to stay with you and support you, but God gave you that vision. And if you can't take care of her, then, hey, man, I know a lot of, you've been around. You remember when people used to, when I was growing up, when I was starting, you remember when guys used to say that God called them to the ministry, and the first thing they did was quit their job? Oh, no. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, your job doesn't prevent you from being in ministry.
That's right.
But that was the first thing they did. And I knew a guy thought he was making fun of me when because he thought I was in hard times because I picked up a Patience for Integris. Oh, wow. I love that. I love meeting people. I love being a helper and all that stuff and make people and put people at ease, because I had cancer years ago, So then, he says, this lady went to see him in concert, and she said, Sherman worked with us, and the guy doesn't really care for me. And he said, oh, he works? Yeah, as you're going to say, yeah. She said, tell him I said hi. Well, just to show you how ignorant people are. How everybody thinks to be in the ministry, you got to quit your job, do that. Yeah. Who has reached more people than Paul? Right. And he was a tent maker.
That's true.
But I'm saying, and I think that is just so silly that people, Paul did it because he didn't want to be a burden to people. He was a tent maker, so you go out and win souls. Well, for me, if I can find something on the side to help me, I'm not too shy to do it, because that's it. That's the important thing, is reaching people. So that's it for me, guys. Another fine mess you guys got me into.
Well, I'm glad you came on the show. You definitely gave us a lot of insight.
Oh, yeah.
You provided a lot of wisdom. I feel like a lot of people our age don't really get that anymore. we don't really have people we can go to unless your parents to ask these things. And
Right.
it's not
Well,
really-
I'm glad, guys. You can talk to me anytime. You can keep up with me. I'm going to keep up with him, and
Okay.
yeah. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to
Appreciate
interview
you
me.
so much.
We appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
All right, thanks.
Before he goes, being 80 years old and still
Kicking it around.
kicking it, walking up steps. They didn't have the elevator ready for you today.
He walked
We had to have him take the steps. We had to have him do a little workout to the podcast. So,
Could you pray for us?
Sure, I will. Let's go. Father God, we thank you for your faithfulness in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for these young men who are gathered here with me. Lord, and I just pray that you would enlarge their understanding, give them direction, Lord, and just give them peace to know that no matter where they are, you are there, and that you are going to meet the need in their lives. Lord, I look at my life and the way you've blessed me beyond anything I could ever hope and dream. And I give you the glory, the praise and glory. Lord, use their time here. Use their recording here to help somebody else. And Lord, I hope that they've been encouraged to seek you more. Lord, and I pray that you would just give us more direction, Lord, and give us the confidence to know that we can do all things through you who strengthen us. And I thank you, Lord, that you are going to be with us, that you are here even now, and that we can only look to you for success because you are the author and finisher of our faith. And we give you praise, glory, and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
all right, thank you, Sherman. For coming
Thank
on
you,
talking.
man. Thank you.
Catch you later. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the show. We'll have his book up, and we'll have other things so you can find his work as well. So, see y'all later.
Y'all ready? 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1.